For 2 years, Felena has dealt with the disappearance of the Dawn Rune, one of the 3 true runes that hold both sentimental and actual value to the Queendom. It was its theft that triggered the use of the Sun Rune, killed Lord Roveray and damned Lord Lake to a torturous existence. To find it here, in the hands of Lord Barrows, is a betrayal far more serious than a selfish grab for power. In addition to another appearance by the mysterious woman who seems attached to these true runes, it's clear that our role in the story is about to get much more complicated. We tell Chuck what we found. Chuck was told by Salem that a wedding gift for Lucerina was being kept in the basement, which is why he was so adamant that she not go down there. Lucerina forgives Chuck and leads us to confront her father. We shock everyone by displaying the Dawn Rune, now affixed to our hand. Salem stammers a bit, but even he can't weasel out of this one. Boz feels especially betrayed, being Salem's right-hand man of sorts. Suddenly, the detective Oboro enters, having completed his investigation. He begins by explaining that the incident 2 years ago didn't start as an uprising. The Barrows-built dam that was destroyed during the so-called rebellion was actually the reason Lord Lake gathered initially, as debris from the dam was polluting Lord Lake's water. Lord Roveray, the man the uprising was attributed to, was in fact actually attempting to calm down the citizens of Lord Lake. Oboro then introduces Norden, much to the dismay of the Barrows men. He explains that when his captain saw the Lord Lake protesters, he ordered his soldiers to attack and scatter them. His captain, by the way, was Urim Barrows. This incited the mob despite Lord Roveray's efforts, leading to the destruction of the dam. Norden then explains that when word of this reached Salem, Salem secretly ordered some of his soldiers to mix in with the rioters, and incite them to attack the East Palace. Norden doesn't know what happened exactly at the East Palace, but seeing as Barrows is in possession of the Dawn Rune now, it's obvious the attack was a screen so he could steal it. Salem is mostly left speechless at all this, while Urim becomes irate. He claims we should be ashamed, as his father is the only reason we've been able to resist the Godwins at all. He yells at us to get out, and so we do. Lucerina says her goodbyes, claiming she is now loyal to us and will likely never see her father or brother again. Cyleeds gets one last jab in as we leave to reconvene at Rathfleet. On our way out of Rainwall, we run across Wilhelm and Mueller of the Lindwurm Brigade. We ask to hire them, not really because I want to, but because I believe this helps us later on. They refuse, but keep the option open. So a lot's happened, but we've got a few more friends to talk about. First, Chuck has joined us and acts as our permanent storage handler. He can't be used in battle, despite his sweet claws he used in our duel, though he can be used in major battles. There, he's not all that useful. His ability, Balance, says it equalizes damage done, which I genuinely can't find what exactly that means, and whatever it isn't noticeable enough in battle for me to tell. Still, having storage is very useful and will help keep our inventory from getting cluttered. Lucerina is similar to Chuck in that a lot of her utility comes from just going to her in the actual game world and talking to her. She lets us change our party members, which obviously is a vital service. In major battles, she's a bit more reliable than Chuck, simply increasing our unit's attack power by 5. Next is Boz, who's a major battle only character. There, he's a general that commands a spear unit, an upgraded infantry unit. He isn't the best army battle general, but he's certainly a good one and will feature in several battles to come. Finally, Kyle returns and he's here to stay. Kyle is by far the best character we've recruited yet, and it's not just because he starts at a higher level than everyone else. I'd say he's a jack of all trades, master of none, but that would kind of be understating how versatile he is. He's best described as a magic knight or a spellblade, with above average physical and magical stats. He isn't as good at physical attacks as the best fighters, and isn't as good at magic as the best mages, but he's still pretty damn good at both of those things. His only real weakness, I suppose, would be his short range and low health relative to other top tier characters, but that's really grasping for a weakness because it's more like he's just average at taking hits rather than he's bad at it. His magic defense is actually pretty high though, making him one of the more resilient characters when it comes to magic attacks. His high affinity for water runes means he can both heal and deal damage effectively, with some support abilities thrown in there as well. Needless to say, if we were looking to build the strongest party we could, Kyle would be a contender for the short-range slot. Whoa, we're in Rathfleet again. Raja has already been briefed on the situation and welcomes us with open arms. The group discusses recent events, with Lucretia stating that she was hoping to keep Barrows as an ally, but such a thing would now be impossible knowing his theft of the Dawn Rune. Lucerina feels humiliated by the actions of her family and wishes she could apologize to both the royal family and Lord Lake in particular. Boz cheers her up a bit, proclaiming his resolve to make sure people like Salim can never succeed again. Raja asks us for our next course of action. It doesn't really matter what we say here, as our next goal will be to help Lord Lake anyway. Everyone's in agreement, and Raja makes an order to move Rathfleet closer to the sun-stricken village. We look in on the Godwins, who have received word of our falling out with the Barrows. They say all nobles associated with the Barrows have either gone independent or pledged loyalty to us. Marscal sees this as more evidence of Lucretia's selfish nature that further foretells our doom. They end this short conversation by mentioning a backup plan should they not be able to unlock the Sun Rune.
It's me. May I come in? Wow, that looks stunning! Prince, that looks fabulous on you! Hurry up, let's go show everybody! Come on!
Oh yeah, all the ladies start checking out our new duds. Siles wants new duds, but nah, sister. Only room for one fabulous bitch on this boat. Lucretia explains our change of wardrobe is to make ourselves appear more like a leader. I mean, I just want to look cool, but sure, whatever. To further this goal, Lucretia brings up that we need a name for our army. A few people give suggestions, but ultimately it's up to us what we call ourselves. No matter what, your army's name ends in army, so don't go naming yourself something army like I did the first time. Now, normally I would put something wildly inappropriate and probably illegal here, but you know, seeing as we're all playing this together as friends, and our goal for much of this game is to go around and get friends, I think the friend army has a nice ring to it. Lucretia explains how things should proceed now that we're free of Barrows' influence. She'll take on the task of organizing our forces, where we will be sent out on an ambassador mission of sorts to Lord Lake. That's not what we're going to do right now, though, since there's a lot more friends we can meet at this point in the game. First, we come across, well, Gavaya lamenting his luck with women. He says they don't like him because he's from Armes, but, well, I'll let you be the judge of that. We're not really interested in him right now, though, as it appears Oboro has docked at Rathfleet. First, however, we get this cutscene because we went to the wrong side of the boat.
Wow! Would you look at that?
Whoa, I've never seen real dragon horses before!
Prince, come on over and take a look! Some amazing guys have come!
Huh? The prince?
Oh, you're the Dragon Cavalry soldiers!
Aha, the prince!
What a fortunate meeting. I'm Rahal, of the Fatus Dragon Cavalry, and this is my partner, Flail.
I'm Rug, and this here is Lance.
We heard the Armus army was meddling in the battle in northern Rainwall, so we came to investigate. Could you tell us what you know about it? As I see. Thank you for sharing that. I understand now.
So, he's been in secret communication with Armus, huh? Unforgivable. What was he thinking? Come on, Lance, let's go!
Where are you going in such haste?
To Rainwall to give Lord Barrows a big old thump on the head, that's where!
But that would be foolish at a time like this. Besides, Lord Barrows is getting up there in years. He might keel over if you hit him, you know?
Don't worry, I'll go easy on him.
Look, just forget about it. You'll disgrace the Dragon Cavalry's name.
All right, fine.
Your Royal Highness, because of Lord Barrow's cover-up, I'm afraid we failed to detect the Armus invasion. We apologize for not fulfilling our duty. So that nothing like this ever happens again, we promise to dedicate ourselves to intel gathering and surveillance. And once again, thank you for sharing your story with us. Come on, Roog, we're leaving.
Rahal and Roog are the dragon riders we tried to speak to way back in Stormfist. They say they wish they could join us, but the traditions of their order, the Fatus Dragon Cavalry, prevents them from being used for anything other than the defense of the nation. Anyway, we go in the right way this time and find Oboro's ship empty. That is, until an unexpected guest arrives. Dolph, a member of Nethergate working for the Godwins, enters. This is actually a mere coincidence, but one that greatly alarms Leon. Dolph is here presumably to speak to Oboro, but says he has something to say to Leon as well. He asks her to return to Nethergate, a prospect Leon immediately rejects. Leon professes her duty to protect us, leading Dolph to question if she would return to being an assassin should we be removed. Leon says she'll kill Dolph should he try anything, leading Dolph to imply Leon's demeanor is still one of an assassin. We try to be all macho and step up to the assassin, but before anything can happen, Oboro returns. Outside, we meet with Oboro, Shigiri, and Shiguri. Oboro tries to give Dolph his business card, but Dolph isn't interested. Dolph says he has business with the detective, but quickly thinks differently and says he'll return another day and leaves. With that situation seemingly put on hold, we can now talk to Oboro ourselves and, well, ask him to join us. He thinks on it for a bit, but quickly makes up his mind and announces that we'll have full cooperation from his agency. Fuyo agrees and drags Shiguri along with her. Shigiri, however, says she doesn't want to get involved with any fighting. Oboro accepts this and says she can still stay in the company, office. Note that if we did not do the side quest earlier where we helped Oboro's investigation, we would not be able to recruit the characters we did here. We would still get an opportunity to recruit them, but it would be much later on in the game. Our next stop is the Rathfleet Inn, where we just happen to find our old buddy Norden. He's much more sober this time, but still dealing with a great amount of guilt over his role 2 years ago. We give him the opportunity to redeem himself, however, by joining our friend army. He readily accepts. In the room next to his, we come across the street entertainer from the Sacred Games, Norma and her leopard Ernst. We ask them to join us because, well, we're asking everyone, so might as well, right? She reminds us of her need to find a famous wizard, however, and declines. While we get our characters ready and fitted out to go venture into the world once more, let's go over the abilities of our new friends. Oboro is another character like Lucerina whose role is more meta in nature than just being a set of stats. By speaking with him, he'll give us what a detective ought to give us, information. For many recruitable characters, speaking with Oboro is basically the only way to know they exist or where they are without a guide. He'll also give you interesting little tidbits about characters, both ones we befriend and ones just in the story. I do plan on including these in some way, but there's so many that I'll likely include them in their own video near the completion of this series. Fuyo can be used in major battles and reduces the defense of any unit her unit is attacking by a small amount. Not terribly useful, and her other utility is not terribly useful either, but it's neat, I suppose. Talking to her allows us to play a tile collecting minigame called Fatus. In Fatus, you are presented with a board of tiles with character portraits and rune portraits on them. Your goal is basically to match tiles with the same faces and have the most points by the time that all the tiles are gone. You can only match tiles that are not blocked by other tiles. For instance, you can match two adjacent matching tiles, but can only match tiles further away from each other if straight lines can be drawn between them without crossing another tile. Character tiles are worth 20 points, except for those featuring the royal family, those being Arstadt, Farid, and Limslea, which are worth 100 points. Rune tiles aren't worth any points, but matching them will cause several tiles in their area to be matched instead for their normal point values. It's a fun little distraction, I guess, but not one I've really ever put the time into. You do get rewards for winning, but not anything all that worthwhile. Norden is an army battle only character, and he's alright, I guess. He adds a use of charge to the unit he's attached to, allowing the unit to attack without being retaliated upon. That's his only contribution, though. This is why you don't drink, kids. Shigure joins us in both normal and major battles. In major battles, he's pretty underwhelming, commanding a 2-star unit that can deal a bit of damage from a short range. In regular battles, however, he's very strong at this point in the game. Shigure is a glass cannon short-range fighter, but he's very good at being that. His primary strengths are in his fast speed and propensity for comboing. This early in the game, he can often destroy small random encounters in one attack round by himself with a bit of luck. His poor health and defenses, however, make him fall off a bit later on. For this reason, it's sometimes useful to keep him a bit further back than most short-range fighters, as his high accuracy can compensate a bit for it and it'll make him safer. He doesn't have much worth as a mage, but he's a prime target for proc-based or attack-oriented runes. We're ready now and venture out, but not to where you might expect just yet. No, our destination is actually past Hod, to the northern Lunas woods where the elf Isato originally ferried us to safety. Normally, if we come here, we wouldn't be able to go far, but this is why we brought the map maker Takamu with us. When we reached the area Isato led us through, Takamu claims that he can see the elven path and offers to lead us through it. A short distance into the new path, we're stopped, however, by a voice. A woman elf reveals herself, stating that humans are not allowed along this path. Takamu mentions that we're the prince, which gets the elf's attention. Suddenly, the elf announces that she's heading to Lunas and she expects us to escort her there. That's where we were going anyway, so yeah, sure. The elf's name is Erda, and she pretty blatantly doesn't like humans, but we head back to Lunas with her anyway. We return to the Conclave to find Isato shocked to see us. Erda barges into the conversation though and reveals why she brought us here. She demands that we release Isato from service so that he may return to the elven homeland of Alsaid. Isato apologizes for Erda and clarifies that we have no such power as he serves under the Oracle Hazwar and not us. He goes on further to say that he does so willingly, frustrating Erda, who sees humans as nothing but barbarians. Isato doesn't fully disagree, it seems, as he explains the reason he remains here is because Hazwar protects the river and surrounding area from being mined for gold, which would inevitably lead to pollution should it be allowed. Erda seems to care for Isato, and her primary motivation is to get him back to Alsaid so he doesn't get caught up in the war. He refuses and we head back with Erda. We can't continue the storyline just yet, but Erda will remain where we met her, allowing us a back entrance into Lunas. And so our destination is back into the forest. We're interrupted by a voice once again, but this one isn't directed to us and is more of just a yell. We go to see what the commotion was to find our old buddy Zagai. He's been up here hunting dangerous beasts for food and satisfaction. We tell him what's happened, and he's glad to see that we're no longer associated with the Barrows. With that niggling little problem gone, we ask him once more if he wishes to join us. Becoming bored with the local wildlife, Zagai wishes to find tougher opponents and agrees. Zagai is a beast in the physical department, but he's kind of like an opposite of Shigure. While Shigure is quick and squishy, Zagai is slow and beefy. He also hits really hard, but almost never combos, and when he does, he can only get up to 2 attacks. With a really big health pool, the ability to wear heavy armor, and surprisingly high magic defense though, Zagai is in it for the long haul. Unfortunately, there aren't many fights that are long hauls in this game, but when it comes to big, slow, heavy hitters, Zagai is a premium player. He's not one for casting spells at all, obviously, but his hit slot is fixed to a Wrath rune, which allows him to manually enter the Fury status, making it so he can only attack but increasing his attack power. Finally, Zagai acts as a combat teacher, allowing us to learn physical skills on the go. Our next stop is much more out of the way. You see, back in Rathfleet, talking to Boz makes him mention the revolving bridge that General Novum used to ferry his troops to Rainwall. He mentions the obvious and points out that gaining control of or disabling that bridge would be of great strategic importance. The bridge in question is just east of Rainwall. As you can see on the overworld map, only one side of the bridge is able to be crossed at any one time. With the Godwins in control of it, they're able to move troops far quicker across the river than we ever could. We talk to a Barrow soldier standing guard at the bridge, who laments that all he can do is stand watch for when the Godwins attempt to use it. He wonders if there's a way to disable the bridge, and then conveniently mentions that the inventor of the bridge is in a place called Estrees. Estrees? Estrees? I don't know, I think it's Estrees. We'll go with Estrees for now. Estrees is located far to the, well, east. We simply follow the road east from Rainwall, which, by the way, we can no longer enter, for quite a while until we come across a town. The enemies get marginally more difficult the closer to Estrees we get, but nothing our two new beefy recruits can't handle. There's plenty of treasure and people to talk to in Estrees, but I'm going to leave much of that for later. Right now, we are laser focused on stopping that bridge. Screw Lucretia, we're the real tacticians here, and bridges are unacceptable. Poking around a bit, we eventually find an alley that leads us to a place called Babbage's Workshop. Inside, we find an odd man who blows us off and tells us to talk to Sorensen beside him. We talk to this rosy-cheeked, beautiful boy who recognizes us as the prince. He says the older man is indeed Babbage, a genius inventor who created not only the windmills that surround Estrees, but the very bridge we're seeking to bring to justice. Sorensen here is his assistant, and we tell him that we want to stop the revolving bridge. We're not one for small talk, are we? Sorensen is shocked at our bridge bloodlust, which gets the attention of Babbage. The assistant is adamant that they can't possibly destroy such a great achievement, but Professor Babbage immediately seems pretty keen on the idea. Babbage calls the bridge old and that he doesn't like seeing it being used to transport soldiers around. Sorensen assumes that this is because Babbage built the bridge for everyone to use, but nah, he just built it because he likes gears. He built the bridge for the exact purpose of its autonomy, and to have it be controlled by humans in this way makes it pretty worthless to him. Sorensen is pretty much just a kiss-ass for Babbage, so the two agree that we should kill the bridge. And with that, Sorensen and Babbage join us for bridge hunting. When we step out of the workshop, a girl stops us and says she was eavesdropping. Sorensen calls her Lou. Lou has a unique way of talking. I assume that her dialogue had some kind of affection in the original Japanese that couldn't be translated easily to English, so the localizers just made her talk like a teenage girl in 2006 on MySpace.
That's not how you spell cool.
Sorensen explains that Lou is a neighborhood kid without many friends who likes to hang out around the workshop. She asks us if she can help kill the bridge, and fuck it, whatever. Lou wonders why we're in charge when we're around her age. Sorensen tries to explain that we're the prince, but Babbage cuts him off because, listen, alright, we got a bridge to kill here. Before we set off, Babbage mentions we should go by boat, as we can sneak into a pillar from there to get inside of the bridge. Thankfully, we know someone with a boat, but that means we have to go all the way back to Rathfleet. The quickest way there is to actually head to Hod. The piers we've come across so far, sans Rainwall for obvious reasons, now act as a fast travel of a sort, letting us essentially teleport back to Rathfleet. Talking to Log, we now see a new travel option that will take us to the traitorous revolving bridge. We arrive inside the revolving bridge, though we don't actually get to see where we entered at. But it was really cool, apparently. We don't get to revel in it much, however, as these guys waddle in. Babbage says they're the security system that he just happened to forget about till now. Lou thinks the professor must have programmed the robots to not attack him, but nah, they're just gears and metal, so they attack anything. On one hand, I appreciate that there isn't a sophisticated AI just thrown into this mostly fantasy setting, but also how do they know there's a trespasser to attack? They must have some way to sense their surroundings. If they were just clockwork, they'd be doing the same action over and over again, not chasing us down and, whatever. We have to fight the robots. You might notice we now have the option to use the Dawn rune with the Prince's action. At the moment, it gives us the ability to wipe all status effects off our party. This is obviously better than the first spell of the Water rune, which only affects one target. This fight is a preview of what's to come, as all random encounters here feature these mechanical soldiers and archers. They're a fair deal tougher than previous encounters, especially since I kinda brought a bunk party for this area. The robots have a high physical defense and are weak to magic, and I just didn't bring any mages. We'll say it's to make the game more challenging. In fact, I'll explain here how our party makeup is going to work going forward. I would have liked to run polls so viewers could pick my party for an episode, but I don't really have viewers at the moment, so we'll save viewer interaction for another series. Crossing my fingers. But since I want to showcase as many characters in battle as I can, and also genuinely want to add more challenge to the game, our party will be decided at random whenever I get an opportunity to change it. This will obviously exclude characters that are required to be in our party, like Sorensen and Lou for this side quest. Also, the Prince and Leon are required pretty much all the time. But this time, we got Shigure and Lele, both who suck at magic. But Lele gives us that nice analyze ability, and Shigure can still dish out damage, even if they're resistant to it. We start our journey through the bowels of the bridge and find a chest containing the Armor of the Gods Epic. This is an epic skill that allows us to raise both defense and magic defense with one skill slot. Characters we use it on must have at least an A rank in both of these skills before we can equip this one, however. We head up the stairs to the top floor where we just find a chest containing a lightning ring, an accessory that adds lightning to a character's basic attack. What are those gears even doing? On another floor we find an equilibrium piece, a piece of a rune that'll prevent the unbalanced status effect should it be equipped. Above that we find another sound set we can't use yet. It's worth noting that pretty much every random encounter in here will drop a steel piece, guaranteeing us as many steel runes as we want. The steel rune greatly increases a character's physical defense, but drops their magical defense to 0. Risky if you don't know what you're going up against, but the vast majority of damage we'll be taking will be physical. We continue through the bridge and, giant mechanical horse robot. Sure, good work, Babbage, I love it. Cool. Yes, Sorensen, this is totally a masterwork. Only a genius would think to build a giant clockwork horse to defend the inner workings of a rotating bridge. It just rolls at us. Oh no. So yeah, this is the boss fight, and it's actually our hardest one yet if you don't count the fight you can lose during the Godwin coup. And thanks to our party makeup, it's also the longest fight we've had so far. The differential gear, weird name, I just call it Clanky the Horse or some shit, doesn't hit all that hard, but it takes very little damage from physical attacks. You're really meant to use magic against it, but all we have is the water rune attached to us. That gives us a little help, but for the most part this fight is a bit of a slog. Eventually we exhaust every option other than auto-attacking and making sure to keep everyone's health up with items in the aforementioned water rune. Clanky will alternate between a multi-hitting single target attack on our front line and a attack that hits a column. Again, these don't do too much damage, so with a bit of healing, we eventually win out. By the way, Lele does basically nothing here. Part of going with random party setups is going to mean a lot of grinding and inventory shuffling to make sure everyone is up to par in terms of levels and equipment. So I hope you appreciate me, gosh darn it. With the great Robo-Horse defeated, we're able to enter the heart of the nefarious bridge and slay it. I like Lou's suggestion of wreaking havoc, but Sorensen is a dirty bridge sympathizer and doesn't want to destroy the mechanical marvel. Babbage, however, simply calmly walks to a set of gears and removes one, proclaiming the bridge defeated. Sorensen points out that replacing a single gear would be an easy repair job for the Godwins, but Babbage assures him that the gear is so meticulously and precisely crafted that it would be impossible to replicate closely enough to make the bridge work again. This makes Sorensen calm. With that, the party heads back. Well, we head back. This isn't one of them teleport back to town at the end dungeons. We gotta run all the way back. And we exit out of the dungeon to Raftfleet, which means we have to run out of Raftfleet. Before we remember, hey, we can use Log to get closer to Estrees. So we go to a wharf and have to run to Estrees. There's a lot of running around for these side quests. Again, you better appreciate me and all the things I do for you. We finally return to Babbage's workshop, where Babbage stores the gear in a safe place, saying it would take months to make another. Lou finally wonders why we're dressed so fancy, so we tell her we're the prince. And okay, no one talks like this. What are you? She squees and wowies and cools, then runs off to tell people she went on an adventure with the prince. Babbage calls Sorensen to the back for assistance, and that's another day of bridge hunting in the bag. We're not quite done here yet, though, as we re-enter the workshop to talk to Babbage. We ask him to join us because that's just what we do now. He says he's too busy to help out, but then orders Sorensen to go with us. Sorensen is worried he's being fired, but Babbage says he'll simply be his representative in our army. And with that, we befriend this beautiful, pure boy. Sorensen is an interesting character. He's essentially a mid-range fighter, though he's got a few gimmicks that make him a bit unique. For one, don't be expecting no magic from him. His stats for it aren't good, but he won't be able to slot any generic runes until level 45. This is because his only slot available before that level is his right hand, and it's fixed to his unique gadget rune. This rune allows him to cause a fairly random amount of damage to the entire enemy party. This is not that great, to be honest. The damage is random, but it's also pretty much always lower than what you can do with more consistent AoE options. Still, the damage is physical, so there are spots where it makes sense to use it to help speed up fights. Otherwise, Sorensen occupies a very highly contested niche. You know who else are mid-range fighters? Us and Leon, who are going to be in the party and are a lot better than Sorensen. But I mean, come on, look at that face. Well, the friend army certainly grew a lot today, and it's only going to get bigger.